Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm joined by my close friends and great co-host Ralph Sharega in Massachusetts and Ray Clifford in Ohio. I'm going to get your immediate reaction. I got to get one thing off my chest. I have a litany of things, but I'm telling you guys, the first thing the Jets have to do tomorrow, without a doubt, they have to cut Tim Boyle from the team. For them to keep him on the team with a roster spot and not put him in this game with that slop that we saw from that quarterback, they must think so low of this guy. Don't even waste a roster spot. Bring up Trey Dean or something, someone from the street. But why have a guy like Tim Boyle there as a backup if you're not going to play him in a game like this when we see a quarterback like Zach Wilson who can't make a decision on the field? He doesn't see the field. He doesn't see open receivers. He's a disaster. He hasn't gotten 1 inch better in 3 years. So I'm telling you, I think the first thing they got to do is they cut Tim Boyle. So Ray, welcome to the show, and let me have your immediate reaction.
Well, thanks. I do have a question on your rant, but the hard part is everybody was so excited for this year, and right now it's really hard to watch. It's just, even though it was a close game, it didn't feel like a nail biter. It just felt so there was nothing happening, nothing, and so that was what's disappointing. And I have other things that disappoint me. The defense is disappointing me too. It's not just Zach. It's lots of things, but Zach is the one that, shows up the most. And the frustrating thing about Zach is he'll do something like the drive that led him on that touchdown to make you go, well, he can do it, but why can't he do it all the time? Why is it, once a game he'll look like he can play quarterback, and the rest of the time you wonder why he's even on the field? Now, my question to you, Marty, is, all right, cut Tim Boyle, but you still have to have a backup quarterback on the field on the team. So
listen, in my mind, tomorrow I'd be shocked if Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan are not signed by the New York Jets. They've got to sign someone. I mean, how many times are you gonna hit yourself in the head? You've been saying it, Ray, for like 3 weeks, ever since he went down, Aaron Rodgers, and now it just, I mean, God. You got to call a spade, and what it is. You saw the sidelines. You saw Michael Carter arguing with the running backs coach. You saw Garrett Wilson arguing with Zach Wilson. And like I said, I told you 2 weeks ago, if this happens, someone's gonna go into Joe Douglas's office, says you got to make a change. We got so much talent in this team. So something's got to give. Ralph, let me have your immediate reaction.
Marty, I hate to say it, but I couldn't disagree with you more about the Tim Boyle thing, and I'll tell you why. Last year, Zach Wilson was worse than he was today in both of the New England games, and they still stuck with him. They stuck with him and stuck with him, which you would have assumed meant that they think Mike White is much worse. Mike White got in there and he was better. So don't assume that Tim Boyle is worse just because they're sticking with Zach Wilson, because they got some obsession with this guy. They have to, treat him with white kid gloves, with ego. They can't replace him because it's going to hurt his confidence. And I don't know if Tim Boyle's better or not, but I wouldn't assume because they're not substituting it, that he's not. And I just think that, there's a lot of blame to go around, but
Ralph, you don't think they should have made it? You don't think they should have made a change? Did you actually think they had a chance to win that game, even though the second half, the Patriot players were going down like dominoes with injuries? Okay, you actually thought they had a chance to win that game with Zach Wilson, and I know Cobb dropped the pass, would have won the game, which is unbelievable. And I something inside of me says I'm glad he dropped it, because then we're stuck with this guy for the whole season.
Well, yeah, that's another point. They actually did have a shot to win the game. I didn't think they would, because I knew that he's not good enough. And I wanted Tim Boyle in the game in the middle of the second quarter.
So did I.
You guys. I texted you guys.
Yeah, and I texted Rob August and I were talking.
Look, they have handled, ever since Zach Wilson got on this team, they have handled the quarterback room wrong. Totally. They put him in too soon. They didn't give him a mentor. Last year, they didn't take him out quickly enough when he was falling apart. It's been wrong all the time. And this year, they didn't have someone else behind just in case Rodgers went down. They've just screwed that up totally. And as much as I like Joe Douglas, the quarterback situation, he has messed up completely from day one. And, you know, it's not going to get any better because there's nobody out there except garbage.
You know what?
Really, yeah,
Go ahead, Ralph. I would take Carson Wentz. At this point, Matt Ryan, I would take Joe Flacco. I can't believe.
Here's the thing, Marty. Here's the thing. It took Nathaniel to hack it 3.5 quarters to do what we've been saying, and we don't know anything about football for 3 damn weeks. You throw on running downs, you pass, you run on passing, and then Tony Romo was saying it the whole damn game. How is it that everyone but Hackett and Michael LaFleur for the last 2 years don't know that? They're so freaked out by Wilson. And Ray was saying it the other day, let him cut loose a little. Let him throw a couple of picks. Open it up. Make it a little fun. He might have a chance. This way, it's slow death. It's impossible for them to win this way. It's a joke. And then the stands are half empty, and they're going to be half empty the rest of the year if they play like this.
They're going to lose the locker room. You watch.
Yeah, of course. Right, I told you what's his name? Garrett Wilson was going to start his act on the side. He's already starting it.
He's competitive, and I
don't understand that. But I'll tell you one thing: he got eaten up by Gonzalez today.
And I'll tell you something else, Ray. And Ralph had texted. Gonzalez is a better cornerback than Sauce.
Damn right he is.
He is terrific. That's the way you play cornerback. He's like glue on that guy. But Ray, what would you do as far as the court? I mean, who would you sign tomorrow? And they're not going to play Sunday night. They'll probably play the week after, I guess, against Philadelphia. But what would you do, Ray?
You know, bringing somebody in is like if you said tomorrow, they aren't going to, like you said, they aren't going to play. They aren't ready to play. At least Boyle knows the offense and can step in and try and, you know, do something. So I would have rather them give him a shot than bring somebody else. Wentz is just as much a disaster as Zach ever since he got hurt that first year. The guy I liked that I thought we should have made a run at other than Rodgers, obviously. Rodgers would have been great if he was still healthy. I wanted him to just sign Gardner Minshew or Baker Mayfield, and both of those guys are doing great.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't sign
Gardner
Baker Mayfield and Rodgers. That wouldn't have worked.
No, I know. I get it. But at the time when they weren't sure they were going to get Rodgers, and we were spitballing guys who they could come in, and I said, Gardner Minshew's always been very efficient. And he had a great game for the Colts today. I don't know how it ended up.
Of course, the guy's a competent quarterback. He's not great, but he's competent.
No, he's and we don't need a great quarterback. I mean, yes, it's great to have one, but you don't have to have one to win.
Not against the Patriots team. They're not that good.
No, and yes, Gonzalez is really good, but where I think Wilson is frustrated, and you could see it on some of the replays. Garrett Wilson, right? Yeah. Where he's frustrated is Zach is staring down guys. If he throws the ball right away, he had plays to be made, and he holds on to it that split second or so too long. And by the time he throws it, the DB's either on him or he's defending it. He doesn't trust his eyes. He holds on to the ball way too long, and he's his own worst enemy. The problem is he's been that way the whole time, and I don't know that it's fixable. Even if it is, it would take forever to get him to be able to do that on a regular basis.
It's Ray, if it's fixable, it's a Geno Smith deal 10, 11, 12 years from now, and it's not going to be with the Jets. Now, he does not have the football IQ. Tony Romo showed us time after time guys that were open.
Yeah.
And see, now I'm not saying Tom Brady would have seen every one of those guys, they're open.
Well, some guys just see it, just like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sees where the guy, he's so comfortable with his receivers. Like, I think Garrett Wilson, even in this game, would have been way more effective with Rodgers, because Rodgers knows how to A, throw them open, and B, he trusts where they're going, so he releases it early. The ball's in the air before they're making their turn with Aaron. With Zach, they're making the turn and then waiting on the ball to get there.
A couple of things about Romo. He did point out a lot of things, but one thing I disagree with him on, there were a couple of out patterns where he said that was a good pass, even though the guy was on him. And that was because Wilson was too late with the throw. It was an accurate throw, but he gave the defender a chance to get onto him. But I agree with Ray. I would go with Doyle next week, and I'll tell you why. One play that I remember, Wilson, he drops back, he walks into the rush, and Romo said there was a guy open underneath. Romo said all he had to do was take 2 steps to the left, slide, get a half a second, and throw him out. He can't do that. I remember in the Giant game, Tim Boyle could do that. He slid to the right a couple of times and threw a couple of touchdown passes in there. He understands the position, at least. I don't know how good he is. Zach Wilson does not understand how to play quarterback.
He doesn't. He doesn't see the field, and it was just so frustrating. And the fit. Look, kudos to the Jets fans that went out on a miserable day today. I don't know how they did that. And if you've ever been to MetLife Stadium, it's an effort between parking and walking to the stadium and going through security. It's an all-day deal. So kudos to those people. But I don't know the Zach Wilson, but some of the personnel that they're doing. I mean, I don't know why McDonald, Gibson, and Ruckert don't get more repetitions, especially Ruckert. It doesn't.
Well, Ruckert. Look, it wouldn't matter because Wilson will never find him anyway. He doesn't find anybody. And I'm not being glib about it. It's true. I mean, all these guys like Hardman, is he in the game? Who cares? Wilson's not going to get him the ball. It's ridiculous.
He locks on to one guy. As a matter of fact, they showed a replay. Garrett Wilson going across the field open with like a step or two on. I don't know if Gonzalez was covered him on that play, but whoever was covering was a step or so behind him, and he tried to throw it high and out to Conklin, who was covered, and he didn't make it either. He overthrew him and he dove trying to catch it, and I was just like, the open guy was right underneath him, about 5 yards closer and on the move. If you hit him on the move, Garrett Wilson's going to get the first down, but he couldn't do it. He just doesn't see. He locks into a guy, and it's like he has blinders on. He only sees the guy he's staring down. Even the one replay they showed in Romo's, I think it was almost 4 seconds, he held the ball and never turned his head anywhere, but I think it's the one he threw to Lazard that got knocked down on one
There's
play.
one play, Lazard, it was close, but Lazard should have had it. The guy
Lazard dropped one.
Lazard definitely. It was a very good pass.
It was a good pass, and actually they said it was a great play by the defensive back. But when they showed
it wasn't.
That he should have had it.
He didn't get his hands on it.
He never even touched it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're ragging on Zach, but to me, it's a systemic breakdown.
Oh, it's a bunch of
line
things.
Stinks. Their play calling is horrible. I don't know where Nathaniel Hackett has been for 30 years and living in the same house with his father. I mean, it's so obvious to everyone in the goddamn world that you're running on first down. It's not working, and Belichick wants you to do it, and he's playing right into his hands for 3.5 quarters. I mean that is utter incompetence. And it's just, you talk about the fans. I think Woody Johnson should be like at the turnstiles at the end of the game, giving partial refunds. All I could think of is, did you ever see that thing when they signed Rodgers and then they were showing the ticket sellers, and every time they got a new season ticket person, they went up and rang a bell? And it's just the whole thing is such a joke. These people all bought their season tickets.
Everything's a joke now. Now we're part of the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, right?
well, not yet. But
you know what? It could tailspin.
It could happen.
We'll see.
Hey, real quick.
Ray, that will ruin him anyway, right?
Right. Ray, before your point, I want to ask you, Ray, you were talking about particular plays, and I thought of you. I know you loved that play when it was, I guess, what, 4th and 8, and he threw it past the
Threw it to the tight to Conklin about 5 yards short of the first down with the
5 yards. It
with the
was at the
defender.
line of scrimmage. Yeah.
Well, that's
And
how
the
the
guys-
game ended with that, you know.
the guy's tackling him as he catches it. And I think I heard everybody in the bar, and I'm sure it was everybody in the stadium too, just going, "What the hell was that?" I mean, it was just, and yeah, I thought that was it too. But I was like, well, we still got 2 timeouts, but where are we going to get the ball? And amazingly, we actually got to within striking distance of almost another miracle, like in week 1. But
Yeah.
I just want to do a quick shout out to Pam from our group who
Okay.
did brave the conditions and was there. Although we never saw, we were looking for her on TV. We never could catch a
Wait.
sight of her. 'Cause,
She went from Columbus to New Jersey.
yeah, she was at the game.
Wow. God bless. Good for you, Pam. Kudos
And,
to you. All
If she'd have been all over the TV, if she was standing next to the guy who was shouting when he popped his teeth out.
right. You know, you're right. Yeah, they were showing that all over. Ralph.
all over.
Well, I thought it was interesting. You know, we've always been talking about the offensive line. In the 4th quarter, Strange went out, the offensive lineman. They put in a 5th-round pick for the Patriots. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
And he didn't do awful, which is
Well, where's the Jets pass rush? They didn't get 1 sack today.
no, not one. Carl Lawson,
Carl, what was
Oh.
he even in the
he
game?
was in the game.
Oh my God, I never saw his number
I
once.
mean, you saw
Honestly, though, who did really even get close? I mean, the closest they got, I think, was knocking him down once or twice.
Well,
Bryce Huff
Williams
was
got it.
active again, and
Yeah.
Wayne Johnson
Yeah, he's active, but
was okay. Just I'll just read this to you guys, just so you know. Jordan Whitehead had 10 tackles, 9 solos.
Yeah, he made some nice plays.
DJ Mosley, my favorite, 10 tackles, 7 solo. Mr. Almost. Quincy Williams, 9 tackles, 7 solo. Adrian Amos, I can't forgive this guy. He gave up that 3rd down pass play on their first possession, if you remember that, the Patriots.
Ray, how many
Was he the
times
one-
in the last 5 years have the Jets defense had a 3rd and 14, 18, 19, and they always
And
get
give
1
up.
more yard? It's like they just never.
even
It's just so
when-
predictable.
remember they had the one 3rd and 13, and then they did a false start. And they did another false start, and I said, "This
Right,
is not
right.
good." Yeah, I'm talking to the guy next to me saying, "This is not good." Every time they get in that position,
That's it.
they convert.
You know, if Brady was in there, you know, they would have gotten the first down.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's happened so many times.
DJ Reed, 4 tackles, all solo. Michael Carter II, who probably should have had interception, 3 tackles.
He's
Jermaine
a good
Johnson.
football player, though. I love Michael.
Oh, he's
Carter.
very good. I like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jermaine Johnson, 3 tackles. Mr. Overrated, Sauce Gardner, 3 tackles, 1 solo. He got caught up on that touchdown play, too. There were a couple
Well,
of
we don't know if it
They
was
tried. They
him or
tried to
Whitehead.
say it was him, but it wasn't him. He took the guy to the outside,
I think it
and
was
Whitehead let him. Yeah, Whitehead
Yeah.
let him run right by him,
Yeah, I think it was.
and I was just
Whitehead.
like, "You got to be kidding!"
I if you give me a minute, I just want to tell you guys something, because last week I was crying. I think you guys agreed that with a guy like Sauce Gardner, why not have him cover the best receiver man to man, which they don't have to worry about that for a few weeks. Just hear me out, Ralph,
Yeah.
okay? And then I listened all week to the head coach and the defensive coordinator saying, that's not our system. Now, freeze it right there. Let me go back like about 10, 15 years. Long Island, there's a high school football coaches clinic. They have a surprise guest speaker, Bill Parcells. He gets up, he starts talking. He said, we set up a defense and we call it a, whatever they called it, a Ziggy 8. And our linebacker was in the wrong spot, 100% wrong spot, but he made a sack. On the next series, we called the same play, and our linebacker was in the wrong spot, 100%, and he made another sack. I looked at it during the week, me and Belichick, we looked at each other and we said, you know what? This number 56 is something. Let's start to adjust our defense around him. and that's the way we're going to play it. And why the Jets don't do that with Sauce Gardner, and they're not going to have to worry about it, I guess, next week. But against Philadelphia, they got a couple of good receivers. I would go man to man. I really believe these coaches, they have to be more flexible in the way they coach, the plays they call on offense and the setups they have on defense. I really believe that.
Well, Marty, do you think that Sauce Gardner is that much better than DJ Reed at this point?
I don't think he is.
Well, so what's the point?
Yeah, well, I everyone seems to think he is. I mean,
I don't
either. I think he's overrated, and I think he's not a great tackler. So, well, it was a good story anyway, right?
Right, it is a good story. You got to be flexible as a coach. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I will say that one of the guys point out, Warren in our group, who's a good fan. He's very analytic too when we're talking, and he said one of the things he noticed about Sauce is he doesn't generally get beat deep. It's the shorter passes.
Yes,
he gets beat on the short routes a lot, and I think teams didn't figure that out as much last year, but they have now, and you're seeing it pretty much every game so far that they're beating him on the short routes. So he's got the speed and everything to handle the guys going deep. It's these guys, like Diggs beat him going across the middle. I don't know how many times, or to the outside. And that's where, I don't think it matters if Sauce is single covered, double covered. I'm just totally disappointed in the whole defense, to be honest with you, at this point. That was one of the things I thought we could count on. Of all things, I said, we're not going to be having trouble pressuring the quarterback. Well, we send 4 guys every play. I mean, rarely is it more than 4, and sometimes they get close, but it doesn't ever feel like the quarterback's ever hurried or, rushed enough that he's going to make a mistake or throw it before he wants to, where we can get a pick. And that's what disappointed me a ton.
50 years with the Jets, getting close. That's about.
I really thought they would this year get there and make the quarterback make some mistakes, but we don't seem to get that push.
The Ray, I wasn't in love when we picked up Aaron Rodgers, but I got to really like the guy, whatever. And it seems like the air just came out.
There's no doubt about it. The whole team is
offense and defense. And what I say is also, I always said, how much I like Brady. I was a big fan of him. That if you have a great quarterback, he can lift the team both on offense and on defense. And if you have a horrible quarterback, it's just the opposite effect. And that's what's happening.
Well,
by the way, go ahead, Ralph.
Here's the unfortunate thing, Marty. The last 8 minutes for that drive that Wilson had, that's probably going to give him another game. If he stunk it out like he did the whole game, we might have seen a different quarterback. But now they're going to rationalize it and say, well, he was really coming on at the end of the game, and we think his confidence is getting up. When the same crap that we've heard for 2 years now, so unfortunately, it's fool's gold. And I remember I texted you guys at a certain point. I said I'm rooting against him because if he looks anywhere decent, we're going to be stuck with him again. And all I can say is when Aaron Rodgers went down, the first thing that went into my head is I do not want to sit through a whole season of Zach Wilson again. I will not do it. It's right. I refuse.
And by the way, Ray, a point for you. That the Dolphins won 70-20, and my son Michael Schupak texted me and he said, "Imagine the Dolphins scored more points today than the Jets are going to score all season."
Well, even better is Sean Payton got his ass kicked, which is pretty good considering nothing else is going right for us.
He'll probably beat the Jets too. Now, at this point,
fine. Right now, I'm in draft mode, Marty,
and I want to give him credit because I guess he was right. At the time, I didn't like it. Elijah Moore, he had 9 receptions today as the Browns won like 27-3.
How many yards were they though?
They weren't that many.
Yeah.
Nothing big yardage.
Believe me, if Elijah Moore was on the team now, he'd be in the same position he was last.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, now he would. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ralph, the only thing I could say is, with this coach. And with the way plays are today, and you don't have a coach like Belichick or Parcells, they're going to be a lot more vocal. Okay. And I think there's going to be some sort of, I don't want to say pressure, but I think their feedback is going to be heard. I think they're going to listen. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them go right to Woody Johnson. They developed a relationship with that guy during these summer shows that were on TV. So I'm not so sure. I mean, I think he'll probably start Sunday night against Sunday night game. I can't stand it, guys. Against Kansas City. Today was, the only good thing was that it was 1 o'clock game. But after that, and I'm telling you, they're going to have a quarterback sign like Monday or Tuesday. I know I said it last week on Thursday, but if they don't do that, I mean, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they're going to be out the door, and they're going to be saying, I should have replaced Zach. It was a mistake. I see it all the time. Just like Bill Parcells should have put Lucas in earlier too.
Well, he has to make the effort. I don't think it'll work out because I think there's a lot more wrong with this team than just the quarterback. But he's got to make the effort, and if he doesn't deserve to be there. I'm talking about Douglas and Saleh. I don't like the way this team is coached right now. I think Hackett is just a major disappointment. It just drove me nuts the whole game. I mean, what have we talked about for the last two podcasts? Play action, first down, hand the ball off second down. Romo was saying the same thing. How that guy could just watch that game and not figure that out until the fourth quarter. They could have won the game if he had changed the strategy earlier. You could see the Patriots, it messed them up. They were, it's like, it was unexcusable. It was inexcusable.
It was just a horrible, awful. It was so hard to watch. It was
but we've seen this act before.
I know. I mean, Ralph, was it worse than watching Luke Falk? I mean,
I'd say it's about equal.
Yeah, I mean, it was just horrible. It just shows you that the quarterback position is so hard to fill in the NFL.
It's not that hard to fill. Mediocre. I mean, Desmond Ridder, that guy, he stepped in. He's playing. C.J. Stroud is producing.
Stroud's a rookie.
Sam Howell is producing. These guys. I mean, Zach Wilson's got way more experience than them. It's a disaster, Marty.
He doesn't have the IQ, Ralph.
No, he doesn't.
He'll never.
That's what I'm saying.
Not with the Jets, at least. He won't make in the NFL.
No, he won't.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Ray? You want to add anything before we close out this show? Very disappointing as the Jets go down 15-10 to our hated rivals, the New England Patriots, and Marty gets knocked out of the knockout pool. By the way, we were talking about tip passes, and Queen Williams tipped a pass today.
Yes,
he did.
And I have to say also that the officials gave the Jets some calls today.
Right. Oh, by the way, Ralph, I think Rich Cimini is listening to you. Did you see the email I sent you?
Yeah. I think you were the one who said that, but it was that was a telling stat. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Well, I don't know what it is about the Jets.
Tell the fans, remember it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, they've had
22 games.
It's been 22 games since they've had a roughing passer called on a Jet quarterback. And in that time, the Jets have had more roughing the passer quarterbacks called on them than any other team.
8.
What is there, a kick me sign on the Jets bum? Oh, I don't know what the heck is going on.
Right.
It's not bad enough that the team stinks, that the officials have to gang up on them too.
Oh, God.
Well,
go ahead, Ray.
And I agree. Well, we've pretty much worn out the griping about Zach thing because that's going to be a weekly thing as long as he's in there. But there's so many other things about this team that is wrong right now. The defense. Ezekiel Elliott got over 100 yards against us.
Yeah, he's better than Cook.
Dalvin Cook. We can't block, so there's no room for any running back to run. We can't pass block well enough to let Zach settle down. Not that I think that would help a ton, but it'd help some if he didn't have a guy in his face all the time. I mean, because when he did on the one drive that he did look good, they were giving him time. Now, granted, like you said, they were kind of mixing it up. So New England wasn't really ready for it. And he actually looked calm back there and made some nice throws. But, you know, once a game to look good is just not good enough. But, I mean, from almost top to bottom, you can look at this team and there's only two things that are pretty much steady every week. And unfortunately, that's our two kickers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, Ray. I was going to bring it up.
What a punt by Morstead after the
I know that was a Steve O'Neill punt.
oh my God. In
And
the air.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't want them to try that field goal. I was on the phone with my son.
I wasn't sure either, just because of the rain.
The conditions,
But,
yeah.
hey, he nailed it.
But that guy, it's a shame too. And you know, Ralph had sent a text. It was so telling. What a waste of talent this year on this team. It's just amazing. They do have talent,
They have a ton of talent.
top to bottom, and the play calling and coaching is a little suspect, but it's such a shame. It really is.
Well, the players, they're demoralized. You know, it's so obvious. And the fans are demoralized. It's painful. And it's just the worst possible scenario that could have happened. But of course, that's what you expect when you're a Jet fan.
And everyone should hope that Zach Wilson is not the quarterback, but he will be. He just cannot play in the NFL. I wish he could. He cannot play, and somebody was telling me he's got so much talent. He's got incredible. He does have talent, but do you guys remember the movie Paper Chase? There was a great scene where Professor Kingsfield calls on a student about a case, and he starts reciting, and he's asking him. He goes, then he says, he's not answering like he should. He said, "Sir, did you read the case?" He goes, "Yes, I read it. I have a photographic memory." And he says, "A photographic memory will do you no good in my class." And it's the same thing with Zach Wilson. You could throw the ball a million miles, and I thought his best pass of the day was the Hail Mary. But unless you could really intelligent, I don't even know what the word I'm using, like absorb what's going on in the field and process it and able to think ahead, it does you no good. It just doesn't. Look, we saw it with Brown and Nagel had a good arm. Remember that?
Yeah, not as good as Wilson.
Well, there are a lot of guys who had cannons for arms, but they, we've seen several. Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, all these guys had big arms. They couldn't read
quarterback is the toughest position to scout because, as Joe Montana says, 3/4 of it is from the neck up. You just don't know when the game speeds up if the guy's going to be able to process it.
Yeah,
and that's why so many of these high guys are busts. And when you throw them in early, look, the Packers seem to have broken the code. You have them sit for like 3 years, and they come in and they can be okay. I think if Wilson had sat for 3 years behind a decent quarterback, he'd be okay. He might not be great.
I'll say this, Ralph. I don't think it would have helped him. But just listen to me. With that said, I really believe if a guy like Sam Darnold sat for a year or two, I would have helped him. Believe that.
I think Zach would be better. I don't know if he'd ever be great, but I think he could have been. There are a lot of little things that he could do that you can't learn that on the field under pressure. You gotta have somebody showing you so you can learn it and practice and things. It's a lot of things, and we've known all along the draft's a crapshoot. Look, who ever thought Brock Purdy was going to end up being what he is when he was the last guy picked by the Niners? That reminds me of when Belichick gets on his little on the documentary about Tom Brady and go, "Oh yeah, Tom. We loved Tom. He was great. We had him high on our. You took him in the 6th round."
Look, I saw 6 for Brady, which is the other 6 quarterbacks ahead of him. And Belichick for a couple of rounds kept saying Brady's still there, but he admitted up here. He said, "If I knew Brady was going to be that good, I would have taken him in the 2nd round."
Yeah.
They didn't have a first round pick that year.
But he didn't say that in the when at least the thing I saw him talking about, and I don't know if it was that documentary or just another piece.
Tom
Brady said, we were high on. We were real high on.
Yeah, Tom Brady himself said that if he had played his first year, he would have been lost too. Too soon.
Ralph, you're right, and look at the guy we're going to play next Sunday, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
he said he learned so much from Alex Smith. He said it was the best thing.
Well, there you go again with Joe Douglas. He bungled it badly. I mean, it was one thing to take Wilson. A lot of people had him rated high, but to bring him along the way he did, it was a total screw up, and he's got to take responsibility for that.
I think, they don't quite have one step out the door, but the door is starting to open. So I think the pressure is going to start to mount. And I still think there's a chance, not next Sunday, the week after, might see a quarterback change. The Jets, you have to sign another quarterback tomorrow. Don't wait. You're going to lose your job, Joe Douglas. You're going to lose your job, Robert Saleh. You're going to lose the team. You must sign a quarterback. Okay, so
I think Tim Doyle will be our Tim White, our Mike White this year, which is not great, but anything's better than Zach, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ralph, they don't think that much of him, or they would have put him in.
I know, but they didn't think that much of Mike White either, and he did okay. He wasn't great, but it was. You watched that Chicago game, it was like, whoa, this guy actually understands how to get rid of the ball. It's like,
yeah. Well, we'll see. All right. Anything else, Ray? Anything you want to add before we button down the hatches and get ready for a work week tomorrow?
No, I mean, there's not much you can add after that performance. I've never come out of a game that close just feeling like, God, that was depressing. It wasn't like an exciting nail biter. It was just like,
in the end, sports is entertainment, and this just is not entertainment.
It's not fun.
No.
I mean, they can lose games 34-27. That might be fun. Like last year's Minnesota game, that was frustrating, but it was a fun game.
Yeah.
This is just awful. And I remember the Green Bay and the Dallas game last year. They were awful. Not the Dallas, the Denver game. It was painful to watch. I didn't want to watch it. It was
Jeff, you didn't have fun?
No. I'd say by like halfway through the first quarter, I knew this was going to be brutal.
I'm telling you something. I heard my phone, blows up watching these games. I heard from people I haven't heard from in 10 years at halftime. It was.
You see those poor fans in the seats just shaking their heads.
The sheets of rain.
What is going on here?
Right. Hey Ray, just a little kudos to you because you brought up how the Jets were not prepared for Micah Parsons, and you said, look, next week we play the Patriots. You said he's not as good as Parsons, but Matthew Judon, they got to prepare for this guy, and he was great. He had
he had a good game.
Yeah, well,
he worked with Mekhi Becton.
Safety. That was on him. He could have gotten rid of that ball.
A little bit. He got by Becton pretty quick, but I don't think he even felt him being there. I think he was. He hit him and
did a spin, but he had him going way outside, and then he spun inside. Yeah. I mean, when you're in the end zone, man, you got to get ready to get.
You got to get rid of it. Right? Yeah, you got to be thinking, I have 2 seconds, and that ball better be coming out.
Yeah,
that's about how long he had.
I might watch the game again, but except for this one play where he just fell down and held the guy. Did anybody have an opinion on how Tippmann looked at right guard?
No, I didn't really watch him that closely. They were getting totally stuffed for 3/4 of the game. So I have to, they were obviously, playing the run. Later in the game, they started, finding something and opening up, but I don't know. By the way, do you remember early in the game, and this is a perfect precursor, it was like maybe on the second drive, they get to the line of scrimmage, and Tony Romo says, they have like 5 defenders on the right, and the Jets have 3 blockers.
Yes.
He's got to change the play.
Yes.
He doesn't fucking change the play.
Yes.
It's like this guy can't do anything right.
Nothing. Ralph, I'm glad you brought that up. Tony Romo, I really like him a lot. Okay. I'm not saying 100% of the game I like it, but he brings out some great stuff. And that was 100% common sense. It was just unbelievable. All right. We're going to close this out. Anything else, guys? Well, that's it.
Nothing.
I think that was enough.
Ray, we have a major task. Our task is to try to keep Ralph involved in this podcast.
That is a very tough task.
It's gonna be tough.
Ralph, he's going to come up with some excuses to bail. We got to keep him happy.
I was about to talk to you about that after we got off the air.
I can't talk. I got to go up and do homework.
All right, I have to ask you one thing though.
I've got a thing for the next 12 weeks.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
You guys are my heroes if you can do this for the rest of the year.
For Ralph Schrager, Ray Clifford, and Marty Schupak, and Jets Rewind, we're heard everywhere, every platform now, including iTunes and Spotify. So look for us. We'll be on the air during the week. Until next time.